Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to Step Back Tonight. This is the show where I hang out with y'all on a dreary, fucking snowy 420. What is this bullshit? Hi, I'm Tristan, host of Step Back, and Tristan Won't Shut Up. I stream on Mondays and Tuesdays. On Mondays from 12 till 2, and on Tuesdays from 7 to 9. Right now, my life is sort of hell, so that's a thing. That's very fun because I have a lot of things all just crashing into each other at the same time. My life. Anyways, I go by he, him pronouns. You can find my work at stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshutup.com. You can also support my work by going to patreon.com/stepbackhistory and get videos for several days early and without ads for as little as 84 cents a month with a yearly subscription, $1 with a monthly subscription. So yeah, that. Other things, if you don't want to spend any money but you have Amazon Prime, you can go to Twitch and you can support this stream with a Twitch Prime subscription, which helps me live and pay bills and stuff at no extra cost to you. And if you don't spend it, Amazon gets to keep your money. So use it on me, or at least use it on some Twitch creators so that Jeff Bezos doesn't get to have sex with your money. What else we got here? Yeah, as about why my life is hell right now, I have a video coming out, or I have a video coming out, or I need to have finished tomorrow. So that's a thing. So I was doing some video work for that, and then also I had a secret project to get ready for. But I have another video that I have to film tomorrow because it is due also in the next few days. So my life is going quite bananas. And yeah, so next. But it does mean that patrons will be seeing content early tomorrow. So there is that. And yes, everybody in the chat, yeah. Derek Chauvin's going to jail. Very good news. Yeah. Happy days. Happy days. Just wish it wasn't snowing in late April, is all. That's why I said dreary. I was getting called out for saying dreary. I got, also, if you want to submit questions to future streams, I got a link that you can follow that will send you to a Google form that you can use to, what's it called? To help with, to answer things so that, it gets like, we get some goofs, get some content for when I run out of things to yell at you guys about. That's good stuff. So. And also, if this is your first time here, please make yourself known in the chat. We have a very active chat community who would love to help, who would love to hang out with you. So, get in there. So that's all of my opening spiel. But yes, I guess we should open with the big happy story that murderer got charged. The fact that it's a happy surprise that a murderer got charged for murdering somebody is or convicted. We can say convicted now. So a murderer got convicted of murdering somebody when he was like literally caught on tape murdering somebody. It's that we're at that place where that is a surprise. That is a thing that we are pleasantly surprised about. Huh. Yeah. So that's a thing. Um, in parts of Australia, it's recently snowed. You know, it's not supposed to be winter in both Canada and Australia at the same time. That's how you know something's bad happening. You know, it makes me viscerally happy that that Derek Chauvin's going to prison, but I also know that he was. They in many ways they threw him under the bus as a way to you know, excuse the whole system. They decided to make him out as a bad apple instead of, like, you know, talking about the major issue, which is the fact that he was part of a racist armed patrol, or a racist armed patrol in the United States that is basically designed from the ground up to suppress the lives of people of color living in the United States. And so that hasn't been dealt with, but at least we got our small feeling of joy watching him get, you know, put in prison. So that's nice. Then again, it's like a thing down the left to just never be happy about anything. So I guess I'll enjoy it. It's what's it called? It's good to see somebody who murdered somebody on film got charged with doing the thing that he did on the film. That's always nice. Hey! Thank you, John Barlich, for the $2 super chat. Damn good that Chauvin is in prison. Oh, yeah. It's being relieved that we weren't let down, yeah. Relief that we weren't let down is basically like... relief that we weren't let down is like the best we can hope for in these days, isn't it? Is this a bad thing to... Look at this tweet. Is it a bad thing? In order to sustain the social order, the ruling class will sacrifice a few of their operatives from time to time. Don't be fooled by a guilty verdict today. I mean, it's... No. It's a thing that we probably should be aware of while also, you know, while also celebrating that something happened. But, like let's not pretend that this one case of justice being done means that we've done anything meaningful to stop the daily murder of people of color by police officers. So I think it's good to temper it, because in many ways this can be like a lot of the ways the media is going to spin this as like, this is a great day for justice. Look at it. We solved police brutality. It's all over now. And like a 13-year-old was murdered like last week. Like... and was caught on camera with, like, and several police officials, including the mayor of Chicago and the head of the police, lied about it. So it's a good time, but also we should be aware that it is a battle, while the war is, like, you know, winning a battle when the war is still being overwhelmingly won in the favor of the enemy is, you know, it's cold comfort. It's the way I would see it anyway. But also, fuck that guy. Also, which, you know, is another way to look at it. Want to see something depressing I found under my bed? I don't know if I want to see that at all. That sounds like it could be very, very gross. CPD murdered a teenage girl. Between the time the verdict had reached and the time it was announced, CPD murdered a teenage girl. They told us they were going to ride as they did, and they are. Be safe. See you tonight. Yeah. In Australia, specified New South Wales, the police were descended from pissed off British Marines. Yeah. It's not. It's a children's book. Okay. Plans are to send astronauts to Mars by 2020. I mean, That was that was always overly optimistic. That feels like it was like I've been hearing 2030 since I was a kid. That's like that's always been the like far off day. The thing is that 2030 is like what 9 years from now, so they got some work to do. Stellaris. What about it? I know that if I start playing Stellaris, people are going to instantly start leaving, as happens. How do I respond to the claim that Trudeau has kept more electoral promises than most leaders? Where is it? One second, I have a response for you. Just gotta find it. Here we are. Yeah,
Citation needed.
very good. Always comes in handy. But yes, J-Lord, thank you for the $5 super chat. He's kept more electoral promises than most world leaders. He promised to look into the possibility of maybe turning Canada into a democracy, but then said, nah. He decided he was going to be he was going to have his 50-50 cabinet until he harassed two of them out of their jobs for not doing crimes for him. He promised to not do, like weapons deals with fucking dictators. And like within 6 months of becoming prime minister was selling weapons to Saudi Arabia. Like, fuck off. Like, no, there is no argument that Trudeau is some sort of like good prime minister. He's been utter shit. He what's it called? He like actively like supported the RCMP like bulldozing, invading another nation's sovereign territory to build a fucking oil pipeline through it, and then bought an entire oil pipeline when it was no longer going to be economically feasible, and encouraged corruption in order to secure votes in Quebec. No. Not to mention doing blackface like a dozen times. That was published in 2001. Should we have known better by then? I mean, maybe. Like, the thing is, like back then, we didn't really know about how NASA was going to get constantly have its budget cut. And I don't know, it was for kids. It probably wasn't researched or anything. It was just like an offhand comment. Does Canada have any heroes / anti-heroes like Ned Kelly? I don't know about anti-heroes or like like okay, so I mean Canada's got a few like folk heroes. But our folk heroes are like Terry Fox. That's like that's the first kind of person that comes to mind. Like when my wife immigrated here from the United States, like she was like the first one was like, who the hell is this? Who is this Terry Fox? Why does everyone keep talking about him? He was like this guy who did this very publicized thing in the 1970s where he got cancer and then he got surgery to fix his cancer, which resulted in him having a leg amputated. And then to raise money for cancer research, he did this like marathon of hope, which was going to be this like marathon across Canada. And he started on the East Coast and got to like Sudbury before, I guess he started getting sick. His cancer started coming back and he had to give up the walk, and he died not long after that. And like, it's like the big, like, what's it called? It's like the very Canadian, like they do Terry Fox runs every year at our schools, and there's like a lot, like he has a statue of him at the place where his race ended. So that sounds like folk hero type stuff. In some ways, Louis Riel, who stood up for the Métis people in Manitoba, he sounds kind of like he's got some folk hero energy. Turn Canada into, I didn't realize Justin Trudeau ran on abolishing state and capitalism. Yeah, he didn't go that far, but he ran on looking into electoral reform, specifically with an interest in doing ranked choice voting, which would have made Canada slightly more like democratic. But then what he did is he got an MP to run for it, or he got an MP in charge of the project, and it was like very obvious from day one that the intention of starting the investigation into like how to change the electoral system was designed for the conclusion to be like that we don't need electoral reform because now the liberals were in charge, so they don't care anymore. It was just a popular campaign promise from 2015 that he gave up on instantly. If I make 9,000 promises that are meaningless and pointless and 30 big promises that I campaign on, and I do all 9,000 but none of the 30, would I be keeping more promises? Basically. Yo, you got Discord. Yeah, there's a step back Discord. Let me dig that up for you. Put a little invite in the chat here. I'll put that in the chat. All right, my aunt and uncle. It was Thunder Bay where he stopped. Right. I've been to Thunder Bay. I've seen the statue. I always get the statue of Terry Fox and the giant nickel swapped. Thunder Bay is the one with the Terry Fox statue, and Sudbury is the one with the giant nickel. So, yeah, because Sudbury's a mining town. They did legalize weed. That is true. They legalized weed, and then they made it so that provinces could decide that if you're renting, that your landlord can ban you from smoking inside, and retroactively change lease agreements to add that, and at the same time also made it a crime to smoke weed outside. So there's like places where cannabis is legal, you can legally buy it, but it is illegal for you to smoke it in all contexts if you're a renter, which is like the ultimate bullshit. That was going to be the case in Canada, in Ontario too, but then Doug Ford got elected and he scrapped that. Now weed is everywhere. Now I get like targeted advertising on Twitter for weed. It's a very weird time we live in. Did people get their records expunged? No. There we go. Happy 420, everybody. Just absurd, yeah. Just everyone. We've got a lot of positive vibes because of Derek Chauvin being sent to a portal to hell. What's the political perspective in here? I mean, I'm an anarchist, if that helps. Most of the chat is some form of left-wing politics. Except, like, what's it called? There are some people who are, like, there's one liberal who hangs out in here, but, you know. To what extent is 21st century Islamophobia just 20th century anti-Semitism focused on a different group? I think that they're fundamentally different. A lot of, like, anti-Muslim stuff is rooted in, like, anti-immigrant stuff. It's rooted in, like, Islamophobia has been around for decades. So it's sort of built upon 20th century Islamophobia, which was centered around, like, Palestinians and Iranians and such. While, like, anti-Semitism has a much longer history of, I don't know, it has a different nature. It has more conspiratorial nature and stuff. Not to say that there's, like, not, like, you know, stuff borrowed, because it's essentially trying to otherize a type of people. But, yeah. Hey, Exploring History. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Did you start your latest D&D campaign in a tavern? If not, where? Hope you're well, dude. Thank you. Gosh, where did I start my latest D&D campaign? It was at a festival. It wasn't a bar, but it was the beer stand at a spring festival. I remembered because two of my players bought baby horses that they still haul around with them to this day. And it's been like a year. They both seem to share this thing that people are afraid, quote, they will take over. Maybe, but the thing is, like, it's very different, and it's like a lot. If you read a lot of like anti-Semitic, if you decide that you want to read a lot of anti-Semitic literature, not a thing I recommend, but as a historian I had to do. A lot of it is kind of tinged with this idea that Jews are not like a large community; they're always a minority within the society that they're in, and that it's very like that they're like secretly pulling the strings and ruining doing things. But Islamophobia, like in my master's thesis research, I came across a lot of Islamophobia that it's more of like a worry about demographic shifts and about that these people are going to immigrate here and then they're going to change the numbers, and it's gross. It's untrue. It's history on it's first of all, it's like grossly inaccurate. Two, it is just being like, hey, people are going to move here, so there's going to be more of them. Isn't that bad? And then you could just be like, no, why? And then they'd be like, you don't understand. And so it's that. Especially like when you get into like 21st century Islamophobia has sort of like stages, and that's sort of like more modern day Islamophobia is about like immigration and hating refugees, while like immediate post 9/11 Islamophobia is more of like revenge violence for 9/11 or whatever other terrorist attack, typically against a racialized minority, typically to people who are of South Asian, Middle Eastern, or Turkish or North African descent, but it's not exclusively to them, because early Islamophobia soon after 9/11 also targeted like people from like Latin America, because the race angle, and didn't unless they wore some sort of like clothes or had some sort of like open practice of it. Islamophobia was less focused in the communities that aren't racialized as like Muslim. Like you had more Sikhs who were targeted for like Islamophobic violence than like say Albanian Muslims, who Albania is a Muslim majority country, or Bulgaria is a Muslim majority country, and those communities weren't attacked as often unless they were like hijabis or something like that signified that they were Muslim. So I did a whole thing. My American Studies master's degree was all on this, about how Middle Eastern garb and skin color were like used as markers of Muslimness and targeted people for discrimination and hate crimes, and that's why one of the Sikhs got targeted a lot, because not only are they typically South Asian, but they also have a lot of religious garb that they wear. Like Sikhs typically wear turbans, or Sikh men, but some women do as well, wear turbans, and also they can't cut their hair, and they carry a kirpan on them, which is like a dagger. So like, but people don't know who Sikhs are here, so they just assume. Well, in America, here they're a little bit more common, so we actually do. But in America, they were just thought of as being Muslims, and so the first victim of an Islamophobic hate crime after 9/11 was a Sikh gas station owner in Texas. If humans never develop FTL or warp travel, do you think the only way future humans can escape the sun turning into a red giant is to colonize the Jovian and Saturn systems, which might turn tropical or temperate? I never thought about that, but that'd be cool. My guess is that, oh yeah, the moons. Yeah, I was going to say, like, Jupiter and Saturn are gas giants, but the moons might actually be okay. You smoke? A little bit. I go through phases of remembering and forgetting that I have it. How is anti-Semitism is also a conspiracy? When will you get around to Grover Fur? Oh boy. The Discord's getting raided right now? Ah, shit. I know people were joining. I put the link in the chat, but if people are being, are people? Oh gosh. Okay, let me see here. It's a bunch of stupid, like, memes or something. Let's see. Let's get these spammers. There we go. That might have helped with some of the goofs. I don't know what the deal with. I don't know what the etiquette around Discord raids are. Thoughts on the verdict the jury reached? I haven't read the actual, like, word for word verdict, but him being bad and going to prison for murdering somebody that got caught on tape, it should have been an open and shut case. I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. It'd be like, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client, or what's it called, like, Derek Chauvin is a murderer. Look, there's a literal video of it. It's like, okay. Do you do COVID precautions in your dreams? The other night I had a dream where I was walking around the street. I thought, love to go to a restaurant, but social distancing. I have not done that. I haven't gotten that far. Grover Fur and Tankies are talkies? Well, I'm a talkie right now. I don't know too much about Grover Fur. I know that he's like a big Stalin apologist, but I don't really know the specific arguments he's made, so I can't really talk to him about it. Oh boy. All right. Did you hear about the Stupid America First and Pro Anglo-Saxon Culture by Marjorie Taylor Greene? Yeah, I did see that. I think it got retracted like 2 days later because it just got such overwhelming negative response, because it was basically like, what if white power caucus? And it's like, oh God. Can you do a video on the War of the Roses? Maybe. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. I don't know what I would... If there was something that I felt like learning about the War of the Roses would help us better understand our world or whatever like that today, I might do it. But first of all, I don't know a whole lot about the War of the Roses, to be honest. And I don't really know what learning about the War of the Roses would do for like our world right now. And I'm also sort of moving away from doing like video about straight history topic and moving more towards like, here's a thing that's going on right now, and here's like how we can understand it by understanding history, that kind of a thing. Well, Tankies. No, you said talkies, my friend. We're going to talk about the movies with the sound attached to them. The first talkie, of course, being Al Jolson's The Jazz Singer, which is a real complex legacy because that's a movie that primarily has a character that's in blackface. Also, being the first movie to ever have sound attached to it. Isn't history fun? Fucking Christ. What do you think about the new Canadian budget? From what I've heard, there's a lot of good stuff in it. There's childcare of some kind, cheaper childcare. I think. I know that there's some other things. There's like a tax on houses that you don't live in, which is nice because Canada's got a real nasty housing bubble that's been caused by speculative real estate purchases. So if you're a president, how would I deal with Russia? If I was president, I'd be primarily focusing with dismantling the concept of an American state. So I'd be already trying to find a way to just like dismantle the American government altogether. So dealing with Russia would be pretty low on my list of priorities. When will you get around to Grover Fur? Oh my God, somebody's really. When are you going to address Grover Fur? Holy shit. What is going on, Zolan? Why do you want me to talk about this person? I know all I know is that he exists and he's written some books, and so I can't really. I'm not Vosh. I can't just like talk forever about things that I know nothing about and pretend that I'm smart. Like I have to actually like if I'm gonna like have a take on Grover Fur, I'm gonna have to read his stupid books. I'm gonna have to think about it and write stuff. Can you make a video about the development of agriculture in Papua New Guinea? I'm thinking that's a joke. Or is there something cool about the development of agriculture in Papua New Guinea? Are you saying that weird convoluted succession crises aren't relevant right now? I fail to see you learning about the War of the Roses. Like the War of the Roses, politics was just in such a different world than it is today. And I don't know exactly. The only thing I could think about with the War of the Roses is to bring in to talk about how the monarchy is awful and we should not be giving random people who are their own cousins power. Comparisons to the Roman Republic are common in American political discourse right now. What do you think about the rise of Caesarian faction and its subsequent collapse tells us about today? Good question, actually. Because, I think that so speaks a lot about, the cult of personality. Like, the collapse of the Roman Republic had a lot to do with the fact that you had an entrenched political class that was very out of touch with the people that were in that society. So there's a lot of animosity and feeling like they were, being ignored, left behind, whatever you want, right? Then you had two populists who tried to do some major changes as their position of tribune of the plebs. Now we're the Gracchi brothers or something like that. Marius Gracchus and let's just go with Tony Gracchus. And they tried to essentially do the sort of thing, and you see this with Napoleon and stuff too. I'm going to be a representative of the people by getting rid of whatever state we have, which was primarily made up of Republican senators and whatever, and put in something so you get shit because everybody here is starving except for the few rich people, which weaponizing class warfare to put a dictator in charge seems to be a recipe for not so good situations. Have you ever run into an alt-right influencer or intellectual in person? No. When my son told me to stop impersonating a flamingo, I had to put my foot down. Oh God. Never heard of Grover Furr. Grover Furr is he's he's basically like a professional genocide denier type guy who, this is as far as I know, it's very limited, but Grover Furr is a very big Stalin apologist, and he has written several books about how, I think he has like this conspiracy theory that, that when Khrushchev came to power, he made up a bunch of bad stuff about Stalin to make him look bad, and kind of cement himself into power. And his theory goes that everything we think is bad about Stalin is either, or both, it's both good actually, or it was something that Khrushchev, or it was something that Khrushchev made up to make him look bad. Which, like, you know.
Citation needed.
Getting a lot of use of that button tonight. Have I done a video about the Haitian Revolution? Not yet. I do think I will at some point when it's relevant. So what's European cultures like the Romans, Greeks, and Norse cultures had to ignore the Greek was cool with male sexual. Yeah, I remember like one of the weirdest things in 300 was when the Spartans were giving the Athenians shit for being gay, and I was just like, did Leonidas just act homophobic? And I'm like, dude, dost thou know who Leonidas is? Tiberius Gracchus. Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus. Yeah, Tony and Gary Gracchus. That's it. Hey, this is Tony. This is my brother Gary. We're gonna be some Gracchi brothers. The Super Gracchi brothers. We're gonna be tribunes of the plebs. We're gonna take over. Don't worry about it. We'll represent your interests and we'll end democracy for you. No worries. Just let us be dictator for a few years. Why not? There we go. There's my Roman lecture. You have a Holocaust eye on your channel? What? All right. Where is this guy? All right, there we go. Bye. Goodbye. Don't need you in my channel. Oh boy. Friggin' chat is the fascists are big mad on the internet tonight. Coming into my chat trying to cause a mess. I'm not like what's it called? I'm not big fish. I'm nobody. Nobody watches me. I'm like the least successful YouTuber. You're not going to cause much of a stir by just coming into my chat and being all messy. You can wear your Grover fur. Oh, God. Yeah, maybe I should go and get like a Grover, what's it called? Like a stuffed Grover? Like a puppet? Like the Muppet named Grover? Think he rides a motorcycle? The closest I've ever come to running into like an alt-right dude is when I was at a resort in Mexico. Don't judge me. And my wife had become friends with this person, and she wanted to hang out with her. So I was foisted upon her husband, who was like a shitty Jordan Peterson guy who didn't believe in climate change. That's about the best I've gotten, though. One of the red states passed a bill to put creationism back in school class. Do you think the newly right-wing Supreme will let them? Do you think they are right? One of the red states passed a bill to put creationism back in science class because they think the newly right-wing Supreme Court will let them. Do you think that they're right? I creationism's a bit of a stretch. I bet they can get away with like teach the controversy or some shit. Would you consider debating Grover for Ben Shapiro, James Alsop, and have J-Reg host it? I don't even know who James Alsop is, but that sounds like a fucking like it sounds like a what's it called, a sleep paralysis demon. Do I think Caesarianism, for lack of a better word, and modern fascism is the comparison? Not really, no. They had different things going on. The context in which they came up, and the kinds of things that they did, and why they did it, and why people did stuff to help them, are very different than like now, or even in like fascists in the 1930s. Any good books you can recommend on Canadian labor history? Well, if Matt Lipton ever shows up, I will ask. I think it's valid to talk with the. I think if anything, like if you can learn about Rome, you can learn about how the lessons like from something that long ago are more like things that you think are invincible are not necessarily always invincible, and that be wary about cults of personality. 88,000 subscribers. I think okay, that's true. My sister doesn't count. My sister wasn't really like into alt right shit. She was just sort of into like anti feminism bullshit, and it was mostly because like my sister, for all of her personality, she's not the smartest person in the world, and her opinion on something is usually just the opinion of like the last person who spoke to her on said subject. So I think she had a really shitty boyfriend in her early 20s that sort of had those kinds of opinions. Only why have the concept revolving senates as institutions of government been largely undemocratic till this day? Because the Senate has always tried to be a representative of the higher classes in order to balance out the power of the people. That's always like that's like what the Senate was designed for. James Alsop is a Holocaust denier who appeared in the alt-right. Right. Oh shit. Didn't result in much social change like it did basically everywhere else. It's interesting in that it didn't result in anything interesting. Anthropologists aren't sure why. That's kind of cool. How did you have a sister who's on the opposite end of the political spectrum? What did your parents think? My parents know that my sister doesn't think that much about politics for the most part, and that she was like, this is probably a bad thing, but like we basically learned to have a very strong disregard for whatever my sister's political opinions are on any given time, because she does virtually zero research because she doesn't read things, and she doesn't really think through her things, so she just like kind of has the same opinion of the last person she dated. And my parents weren't super keen on that guy anyway, so. And my parents are like libs, so like their thing would be like, they'd be like, Jill, stop saying feminism is bad. Tristan, aren't you saying that feminism might be too good? And it's like, okay. My parents kind of are wasps, and they try to, whenever a political discussion comes up, their first instinct is to get out of that conversation as quickly as possible. That's sort of their strategy for most things. Why does the world regard the UK parliamentary system as the gold standard of democracy and government? Many countries model their electoral systems on the UK model. Because the UK spent the better part of, the last 500 or 600 years forcing, like, what's it called? Invading countries, taking them over, and forcing their governments on them. It was done through bullets for the most part. Why does the world's leading scholar on fascism, Roberto Paxton, see Trump as a fascist? I don't know. I bet he's written about it. But it's probably because of all the fascism that Trump did. Like, Trump, like, openly wanted to be a dictator to the extent that he lied about the 2020 election, to the extent that his fans tried to take over the government in January, if you remember. He also, like, pushed, like, palingenic, all of the things that are part of, like, the fascist story of, like, our country used to be great, but then it's been taken back by others, by immigrants and people who are different than you, and social justice and, like, all this stuff. And then he drummed them up and, like, we need to go back to a better time when things weren't like that. And it's like, and also, like, oh yeah, appealing to, like, hyper nationalism and race and white, like appealing to literally all the stuff that fascists appeal to. Like, I don't know, Trump was he probably is a fascist. He just what's it called? He just wasn't very good at being president, and so luckily his kind of ineptitude kept him from overthrowing the system, which was so easy to overthrow. Do you ever notice the extreme victim complex with the right constantly claiming they're being censored and deplatformed while having the loudest voices and the biggest platforms? Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a tale as old as time. They've been doing that shit for decades. Bulgaria is not a Muslim majority country. Do you mean Bosnia? Yes, I did mean Bosnia. You are correct. That was my bad. I have had a very busy day, so I'm kind of tired. And yes, I 150% meant Bosnia, not Bulgaria. Bulgaria is most definitely not a Muslim majority country. Used to be, but then the what's it called? The Balkan Wars happened and they kicked them all out. But now, wait, that's not Bulgaria. That's Serbia, or no. Oh god. No, it is Bulgaria. I don't even know if they were a Muslim majority. They did have a bigger Muslim population under the Ottomans, and then when the Balkan Wars happened, they kicked out all of the Muslims. They became refugees and they had to move back to the Ottoman Empire. What was my sister like at school? Emo girl. Didn't do super great in class. Failed a few classes. I don't know. She was the end result of whatever, like, group of friends she was hanging out with. It's very much a pattern with her. She is just a carbon copy or a reflection of whoever she spends time with. She doesn't think very much for herself. All right. Is the parliamentary system better than the U.S. system? At least stuff gets done with the head of government and the majority of representatives are always from the same party. I mean, the U.S. system is absolutely garbage and is designed to not work. So yeah, I guess it's better than that. Congratulations. But, like, proportional representation is way better. Trump's ineptitude probably gave the left in Latin America some breathing room. I'm genuinely worried about it now. Why? It's based as shit. Fucking Lula da Silva being president again would be very good news. Judging how, like, I don't know if you've noticed, but, like, Brazil is in fucking free fall because it's like fascist or military dictator worshipping president. It keeps denying that COVID exists, and even though he's caught it like 40 times, he's more COVID than man at this point. And Brazil is like completely imploding. It's a thing we don't talk about in the West very much, but Brazil is having like an apocalyptically bad pandemic, and it's because of the complete like COVID denial coming out of the right wing dictator appealing president of Brazil. Like, yes, please. I think there's an election this year. Let's get fucking Lula da Silva into the presidency again, please. There's a lot of countries in the as Bulgaria and Bosnia. There's a lot of countries in the Balkans that at one point had a lot of Muslims in them, but after 1913, there was like an ethnic cleansing of a lot of the Muslim populations of those countries. So they're not there anymore. How do I convince people that the people in power haven't shifted far to the left, but rather shifted hard to the right? Just give them an example of the kinds of policy things we were talking about doing in the 1970s versus now. And you can see that our ambitions for making a more progressive society have become extremely small and extremely insubstantial. How do we counter the rising popularities of green parties around the world? I know this problem is about other places in Germany, but neoliberalism with green taint is on the rise. That's a good line. Neoliberalism with a green taint. I don't know. I don't know. I'll be honest. Did you ever consider doing a research stream for one of your videos? Oh boy. I don't know who would find that very fun. Biden was one of the proponents of Plan Colombia, so his regime might increase pressure on the South American left. Oh, probably. Yeah, India is having a very bad pandemic as well. It's getting like 200,000 new cases of COVID a day right now. Like, absolutely bananas. They're having lots of supply issues because India's like infrastructure is just haphazard and chaotic, and so it's like very hard to get things to. Like India is such a huge country that its infrastructure system is just like it's nearly impossible to get things where they need to get to, and the logistics needed to fight a pandemic are high, and yeah, I can imagine India's just not. And also, they have another like right-wing nationalist president or prime minister who's not good, and is going to use it to attack minority groups in his country. How do you prevent political parties in a proportional system from always assigning wealthy party insiders into MP and cabinet roles? Like, what would I do to qualify for an MP position as a Labour Party member in New Zealand? I don't know. It's a difficult. You could always make like legal like requirements that you need to have MP positions. My guess is how they choose MP positions for proportional representation plays a pretty big role into whether or not you're going to support that party. You don't think they're going to find a way to stop Lula from running again? They keep trying and they fail. And then the Brazilian election, like the upcoming Brazilian election, like Lula's like really far ahead. Like he's very much the favorite to win, a long way out, which is not good for freaking Bolsonaro. What do you think would happen if the Skywall disaster from Cayman Rider build happened in the U.S.? I don't know what that is. Peasant movements under serious threat in Brazil. Police are threatening to slaughter some major communes down there. Jesus Christ. Oh boy. Is nuclear energy based? I mean, okay, there's a line about, so nuclear energy is one of those things that might be necessary, but isn't exactly like my favorite form of energy. And I feel like that's like the big difference between like there's a lot of people who are like, how come you're not talking about nuclear? We can't have green energy without nuclear. Nuclear energy. Why are you doing nuclear? We need to talk about nuclear more. Why haven't we talked about nuclear? And it's like, okay, fine. If we are in a situation, and I don't necessarily believe that we are, that we need to have nuclear power plants, that's fine. It's a non-renewable, but yet very, efficient form of energy production and stuff. The problem with nuclear power, though, is that the plants take like 10 years to build, because the parts that there's like making a nuclear power plant is a huge pain in the ass. Like, you need to make the reactor core, you need to have like one solid piece of metal forged into one piece. And like, there's like one company in the world that makes these. And it's like in Japan. So you have to like get it from them. And then you have to make like, this whole structure that's designed so that, if there's a meltdown, it doesn't like, it has like this negative pressure thing so that like it prevents it from basically exploding. So you have to build that, and you have to build it out of like very thick, very high hardness concrete, which is very expensive. And then also nuclear power plants have to have like high levels of maintenance and security. And thing is, and so they take a long time to build. They're very expensive to maintain, and then also they produce radioactive fuel, which is like, it's not the hardest thing to deal with in the world. But when you have things where the byproducts they have are not that is a preferable option. And I just have a feeling that like, if we spend the next 10 years building a fleet of nuclear power plants, by the time they're done, solar and wind power are going to be so cheap because their price is plummeting so fast that nuclear is just not going to be able to really compete. I wouldn't have said that 20 years ago, but the price dropping that's been going on in a lot of the other industries is quite impressive. So we'll see. I could see still like nuclear plants maybe that are like, new generation, smaller plants that are, designed differently maybe, but like the reactors we have now, I don't think so. I don't see the long-term viability of them. Maybe if we invented like nuclear fusion or something, because that'll basically be like limitless power, limitless energy from deuterium, which makes me think that that'll be, if we can get that working, but that's a technology that's been 10 years away for like 30 years. Can you please explain the rationale of Russian opposition leader being poisoned, seeking refuge in Germany, then flying back to Russia to be imprisoned and is now close to dying? Does he want to actually die and become a martyr? I think, I don't know very much about the situation, I'll be honest. I know he's on a hunger strike, but I don't exactly know a lot of what's going on. The only thing I hear about Alexei Navalny is that he's like a right-wing nationalist, which is like, is this really the person that we want to hang our keys on there? Then there's me being up and saying that solar is nuclear power. Well, there's that. If you already have nuclear power, maybe keep it until coal is phased out, then switch to renewables. If you have no nuclear power, don't get it, just build renewables. Yeah. Most of the public is misinformed about nuclear. This is true. Like, uranium mining has really bad results in the environment and people in northern Saskatchewan. Yeah, and also uranium, the uranium you need to run a nuclear power plant is also not the most common thing in the world. It's getting kind of expensive, and it's like not impossible that if we like really ramped up our nuclear power production that it would run out in a pretty short amount of time. Like we have a finite amount of uranium on the planet. We don't have we have a virtually infinite amount of like wind and sun. Modern thorium reactors are extremely safe. They require a catalyst, and if they overheat, they just melt away. Yeah, yeah. I know everything about the liquid fluoride thorium reactors. I didn't think that they had figured everything out about those yet, though. But yeah, if they can figure those out, I mean, lifter reactors would change the game. I have a feeling though that there's more than just like some evil conspiracy that's keeping them from mainstream usage at this point. Because if they are just like everything that everybody hoped they would be, then we would be switching to them obviously right now, but we're not. Breeder can use nuclear waste as fuel. That is true. I like that. It is a good thing. Thorium and deuterium. Oh boy. Now that would be, if we can get a thorium deuterium based powered economy, then we'd be in good hands. Are you saying the market might save us from climate change? Oh boy. It does seem like maybe in the last year there's been a very slight. There's been some signs that maybe even the capitalists are coming to the conclusion that the oil industry has an expiry date. But even so, like, the incentive is too high, I think, at this point. You don't think they're going to try to find a way to stop? I already answered this question. I said they're probably, like, what's it called? They tried already, and they failed. Is Navalny just another Guaido? A little bit, maybe. Will there still be people like your sister under full communism, or would a better education system prevent that? I mean, hopefully a better education system would prevent that, but I mean, I don't know. There's some people just don't give a shit. Thorium waste can't be weaponized and stored much safer in older forms. Yeah, I know. What's my YouTube? My YouTube is Step Back. Go look up Step Back on YouTube. StepBackHistory.com if you'd like. Thoughts on your pal Mr. Beats live stream about how he'd vote in every election? I don't know. I didn't watch it. Love you, Matt, but I'm not gonna watch. I'm not gonna watch that. Oh, Germany for America. Okay. I know Germany for America is the place to put their troops, but in this case, maybe follow the lead that Germany has taken. Nuclear energy is not the future, it is the past. But what if you take what's it called? If you look at the French, where nuclear energy is the past, present, and future. It is all nuclear all the time. J'aime la électricité nucléaire. Don't most estimates place the amount of uranium in the ground is to last for like a really long time? I mean, a really long time, but still like a finite amount of time. Why am I not CAP? What? Why am I not cap? Like, what do you mean? I'm very confused. Why are you simping for nuclear companies and not... Neither nuclear nor coal companies have your interests in mind. Both fundamentally need to be phased out. I mean, I think there's perfect use for nuclear power. There's a lot of cases in which you can't set up renewables for one reason or another, or power requirements are too high, or something. There's reasons, but and if we really did need nuclear power to transition to renewable energy, I'd be on board. But at this point, I'm not convinced that it's going to be that nuclear is going to be like the linchpin that helps us transition to what's it called? To other forms of energy that are much more sustainable. Not to mention there is a carbon output of nuclear power plants, which is the carbon that's used to dig it all out of the ground. Is this a MAGA stream? Oh no. Nope. You're gonna have a bad time here, bud. Stop being dull and stick on some music and dance! Fuck. No one wants to see that shit. God damn. Don't have any questions, just happy to be here and saying hi. Well, thank you, Liz. Arachno communist. Yeah, that sounds fun. Spider communists. Does Tristan know French? I know conversationally I can speak a little bit of French. It's not very good. I haven't practiced it in like almost a decade. I used to be a lot better my French used to be a lot better back in like 2013, but today it's mostly like atrophied from the fact that I don't live in Quebec anymore. Why can't we just build solar panels with artificial lights in them? How would you explain, like a 7-year-old, why that wouldn't work? Because I guess I would just say, like, if you think about a solar panel doesn't absorb all the light that comes out of a light. It absorbs only, like, a fraction of it. If you had a perfect version of it, it would be a perpetual motion machine, and therefore violate the laws of physics, because every time something absorbs energy, it doesn't absorb all of it. It's sort of like the law of nature, and so it'd be impossible. Aren't the French building fusion reactor? France is basically leading the world on fusion power research. You find you strange that you and JJ agree that the monarchy should be abolished? No? It's a pretty reasonable position. Even if JJ McCullough is an evil capitalist, or a conservative, or whatever the fuck he is. He has a lot of other bad takes. He basically hates French people. And is an Anglo supremacist in Canada. He has tons of other bad takes, but just because he thinks the monarchy's bad, the thing is, like somebody can have a good take and then also be bad at their other takes. That is, we have enough room in our world for those people to exist. He is a very rare conservative who is against the monarchy. There's not that many of those in Canada. Most conservatives are very much for the monarchy. Communism have never worked in the past, present, will never work in the future. Why do you think it will work in the USA? Oh boy. Well, let's see. Communism has never worked in the past.
Citation needed.
Communism has never worked in the present, okay.
Citation needed.
And will never work in the future.
Citation needed.
Okay, so that's like mostly my answer. You're just relying on American propaganda truisms and not actually saying why those things would be the case. You're just a troll on the chat, but yeah. Man, some people there's some big mad. There's like what's it called? There is the energy of right-wing tears in this chat room tonight is very very thick. People are really mad that their racist murderer man who filmed himself murdering somebody didn't get away with murder. I know it's really upset because you basically get your way all the time, but drinking your tears. It's so cute. Oh, why do you think so many people see fascism as a preferable alternative to anything even slightly left-leaning? I personally think it's due to decades of propaganda from the West and much of the East. I mean, yeah, anti-communist propaganda is definitely a big one. Just that we have a society that blames the failures of capitalism on scapegoated minority groups. That's sort of how it works. That's sort of the history of how capitalism keeps repeating itself. The prevent solidarity, push racism. Racism basically keeps the whole machine going. It's racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, all those bigotries are what the rich use to divide us. Get us all fighting each other instead of realizing who the enemy is. What would you make the Canadian minimum wage? Was totally up to you. I mean, I'd probably find out what the living wage is wherever someone was and calculate it based on that. Find the living wage and then adjust it constantly based on what inflation rates and everything like that. That wasn't real communism. Okay. You do have yet to have an actual take about about where like all communism in the past has failed. Okay. Cool. So when I talk about capitalist countries like Nazi Germany, you can say, well, that wasn't real capitalism. Like, I don't know. America was a capitalist country, and one of the most iconic things it did in the name of capitalism was fucking enslave people. So, I don't know. Which one's worse? Did you hear of the Netflix series called Emily in Paris pissed off the French, especially Parisians? Oh, okay. Fine. I don't know what to say. I've never seen it. I've never heard of it. All right. Fascists acting up because one of their boys just got sent to the clink. Yeah. Communism is stage 5 or 6 of Marxism. Oh boy. Someone really wants my attention tonight. They want me to must be China, Russia, Vietnam, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela. Well, hate to tell you this, but Russia. All right, I'm just going to kick this guy out. This guy's being a dingus. This guy's just trying to make me mad. You know what? I'll take it back. Well, I can't. Oh well. Life's better without people like you. It's like you're obviously not arguing in good faith. You're just saying like conservative talking points. And like, you can't have a conversation with somebody who's just coming with a bunch of prearranged conservative talking points to vomit into my chat room. So whatever, fuck it. It's 4:20. I don't have time for this shit. I've heard you insist that all the communist states are actually just state capitalists. Oh yeah. Well, I don't know about all the communist states, but the Soviet Union most definitely was. Man, we've got like a chat going on where it's just like this like right-wing troll just being a goof, and then a whole other thing where everyone's just talking about fucking nuclear power. That is very much a step back stream. Have you read the latest geopolitical news surrounding the situations in eastern Ukraine and political unrest in Myanmar against the Chinese-backed military junta that's occurring right now? No. I know that there's like a massive, like very violent coup and counter coup happening right now in Myanmar that I don't know too much about. Eastern Ukraine, if I remember, it's sort of like a escalation of a lot of the stuff that's been going on in Ukraine since like 2014, with like basically like with Russia trying to annex big portions of Ukraine. That's led to like civil wars breaking out between Ukrainians and Russian-speaking Ukrainians, and just yeah. I don't exactly know where it's going right now. haven't honestly, dude, like at this point, like following the news is really tough for me. Ontario is having a real bad time with COVID right now. And it's been tough in the last like maybe month or two to make content and stuff, because it's just been like hard to think about anything except for the fact that like my fucking province is falling apart and nobody is going to save us, and there's going to be no, like, what's it called? It's just, it's real tough. The only one besides maybe Cuba that wasn't state capitalism was probably Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was probably like the most capitalist. It was literally like market socialism, wasn't it? It was like, let's have socialism, but with private industry. Are Canadian right-wingers big fans of Trump? Because when I was getting my vaccine, I saw a lot of Trump flags in the town I got the vaccine was the Canadian main border. No, so Canada's right is kind of fractured. Canada's right wing is made up primarily, there's like different factions. There is a French right wing that is much more like white supremacist, neo-Nazi, anti-immigrant, and they are, but also ethno-nationalists for French people. They're not a big contingency, but they're like a sizable contingency, mostly in Quebec. Then there is like the far right of the Canadian, like English side of politics. In the Anglo world, our far right is like there are a few people. There are Trump fans, obviously, but not as many as you think. A lot of them are like more concerned with environmental destruction. That's their main thing. They want as much environmental destruction as possible. If Earth is a habitable planet next year, they're unhappy. If Canada's entire domestic economic policy isn't about maximizing the most amount of oil possible out of Alberta, then they're angry. Obviously, this is like a political trend that's much bigger in the West, in like Alberta and Saskatchewan and stuff, which is like another like kind of big right-wing culture there. And then you've kind of got Ontario conservatives that sort of are the swing voters. Ontario's like suburbs end up being like the swing voters of the election between the Liberals and the Conservatives. So the suburbs around Toronto, basically. And those conservatives are more like, well, I don't want, like, what's it called? They mostly get swayed by whether or not the last leader they thought the last leader was good or bad, and whether or not they feel like complaining about taxes or balancing the budget or something. Like, that's the kind of shit they worry about. But I won't lie and say that, like justice warrior, or what's it called? Like social, what's it called? Like sort of America-style culture war shit isn't creeping into our country in a big way. And the Canadian right still has a big contingency of just straight up like fascists and racists and regressives of all sorts. Where the heck is Justin Trudeau responding to the crisis in your state? I mean, he's tried to respond. The thing is that Canada's a confederacy, so most of the provinces all are all extremely independent and manage themselves for the most part. Like, it's a thing that you don't really know about Canada that not a lot of people know, is that the province does like 90% of the things, and that the federal government's actually very, very, very small compared to the United States. And so Justin Trudeau has offered to send in the Red Cross, and he's offered emergency aid, but our premier, Doug Ford, has turned it all down. And Doug Ford has been a legendarily bad premier. And so Ontario is like imploding because just Doug Ford's not there. There was an op-ed that the Washington Post put out on Friday calling for him to resign. And since then, there's been another op-ed put out by CTV asking him to resign. And Ford resign has been trending on Twitter like all weekend. He hasn't been seen in public in like 5 days or 6 days now. So it's it's a bad situation for him. Ukraine is crazy. The president threatened the separatist republics. Then Russia reacted by accumulating troops at the border. Now the German media is making thinly veiled war threats towards Russia. Oof. A huge NATO test maneuver in Eastern Europe is coming up, which will have 40,000 NATO troops play out a war scenario with Russia. Ooh. Isn't the right only ever regressive death cult weirdos? Yeah, it's just that the Canadian right it's divided by language and it's divided by its in economic interests. Like the Toronto suburbs are made up of conservatives that whine about, they're mad about SJWs and they're mad about their taxes being so high or something. While like in the West, they are like literally like, the only issue I care about is destroying the environment as fast as humanly possible. And like, that is our only concern. And then Quebec is like much more into like, anti-Semitism and like random conspiracy theories and QAnon and that kind of shit. Do you think the term "eat the rich" promotes violence? I certainly hope so. In Minecraft, shit. In Grand Theft Auto 5. I mean, I don't know. Eat the rich is just a fun word to say, but there should not be rich people. This is a thing. There's a fair amount of QAnon people in. Yeah, I guess I'm not factoring in the fact that The pandemic has made Canadians go just as insane as the rest of the world has. But they don't have much hold over the like levers of power. Like the Conservative Party actively rejects that kind of stuff. But like the main thing that they're like the Canadian Conservative Party was mostly about like making sure that they don't believe in climate change and making sure that everything is about the oil production. Yeah. That's the other thing too, is like you said about the NDP. Like the NDP have gotten policies through. It's not like in America where you have to have total control of the government to get everything done. The fact that we have a parliament means that there's more than two parties, and you can do stuff. There's work to be done. Sort of a tweet leaked Fed report talking about how they found out about it in Minecraft. Yeah. What about the Maritimes? That's a good question about the Maritimes. If I like, the Maritimes tend to lean pretty heavily in the Liberal Party. Like, it's always a bit of a surprise if a Maritimes province votes for the Conservatives. Provincially, they do, I think, but for the most part, like federal election, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, PEI, and New Brunswick tend to vote Liberal. Just unless unless it's a particularly bad election, it's kind of a Liberal stronghold. How does the healthcare system doing right now with handling the patients in Canadian hospitals? Oh, it's real bad. I don't know about the whole country, but Ontario is currently asking the other provinces to lend their extra ICU capacity. And it got leaked last night that we just got the orders that if you have a less than 70% chance of living, you're not going to be put on a ventilator anymore, and they're not going to save you. Like, our healthcare system is at the absolute breaking point. If not, it's just broken right now. They're trying to radically increase ICU like beds and stuff like that, but it's hard going, and they're like airlifting people and driving people to other cities, other provinces to try and get just everybody there because the numbers are just breaking the system. And we have like a higher capacity than the United States. It's just it's just really bad right now. What do you think about the Conservative leader going against the Conservative convention saying climate change is real? I think that's him spelling a rather large Conservative defeat in the West. I think that I don't know if a Conservative leader can get elected or can get the the voter turnout in Alberta that they need if they say climate change is real. I don't know. I feel like what's it called? If he insists on sticking with this believing in climate change, which is true, but also the Conservative Party is extremely detached from reality. That like I could see like a mass revolt of or a pretty big revolt anyway of Alberta voters to like something like Maxime Bernier's party or whatever. Downside of federated systems is local governments can go super regulated without having to suffer too many necessary consequences because the central government still gives them economic support. Like the U.S. South and Alberta haven't turned into third world states because they still get support from elsewhere. It's not a bad thing. Also, the fact that yeah, I mean, a lot of like the real negative side effects of right-wing politics in the South have been mitigated by it's a real bad, like a lot of like deep red states are also very in debt and very receive a lot of like transfer payments and stuff, so, or whatever the American equivalent of transfer payments are, but yeah. they had to cut it on their own, they would be in trouble. If I was on the USS Voyager, I would simply leave. Yeah. Why is Ontario inundated now with COVID? Basically because the provincial government has completely disregarded what scientists have been telling them about how to handle the pandemic, and instead have been doing everything to maximize support from their like conservative base, and to set up themselves up for the next election, and to make sure that the economy like doesn't suffer. So like they've been given billions of dollars to handle COVID, and they haven't used it. They're just sitting on it. They've been like, we have this system for rolling out. First of all, there was a time where vaccines were being rolled out by age, and that didn't work. So then they started making these hot spots, which are places where the COVID's like really, really spreading. They're trying to focus all of their vaccine work on those places, or at least some of them. Apparently not enough. This is the strategy that should be working, but they're not doing it enough, because he wants everybody to see people around them getting vaccines to make it look like he's doing something instead of focusing on these communities. But even then, he didn't listen to his advisors. His scientific advisors gave him a list of all of the like postal codes that are having the worst outbreaks. And a lot of them, they took less severe postal codes and prioritized them over other postal codes because like they're conservative districts. So richer, less COVID-rich districts that vote conservative are getting vaccines at a higher priority than places that are worse off when it comes to infection rate, but are like NDP supporters or something like that. So and also the UK variant is now like 71% of cases in Canada. So, or 71% of cases in Ontario. So the UK variant is like twice as contagious as COVID original. And so it's just been spreading like crazy. And all of this was modeled, and instead of closing down and doing lockdowns, they've been open. And there's also been a lot of like confusion from the government, and people are really upset because the government will announce, like they've kept announcing different types of lockdowns and procedures, and they'll do stuff like, okay, we're going to like lock down, schools are still open, malls are still open, stores are still open, but you can't do this. Like, it's like very arbitrary and very like confusing. And like, we've had like 3, 4, 5 different rules about like what lockdown means. We've had 3 different lockdowns. We've had a ripcord. We've had a shutdown. And so like even me, somebody who follows the news all the time, has no clue what the fuck's going on most of the time. And so nobody knows what the rules about COVID are here. There's like no vaccines. And so everything is just like, and the premier, instead, like he responds with just like, he tried to bring back carding. Like, okay. In our current situation right now, all of the health experts are telling on the Ontario government over and over again that the things that we need in order to curb COVID, 70% of cases are spreading at work, specifically in factories and warehouses and places like that. We need to be vaccinating those people, and they need to be able to have paid sick leave. Because right now, the people who work in those kinds of places are so precarious that they can't take days off even if they're sick. They're spreading COVID, and it's just like ballooning through the population. That's the main driver of COVID right now. Doug Ford has refused to give these companies the resources that they need to protect themselves and stay safe at work. And also, he's just refused to budge on giving paid sick days, because that was a liberal policy that he got rid of when he became premier. So he has to convince everybody that paid sick days are not necessary, because then he'd have to explain why he got rid of them in the first place. And it's like just tonight, there was an article that came out that implies that he might be changing his tune on that. So that's like that's the main of it. Um, Mostly incompetent leadership, and also the fact that compared to the United States, we're just having a much harder time getting our hands on vaccines. Hey, April, thank you for the super chat. How based is the Socialist Rifle Association if they have a few Canadian members and don't operate in Canada yet? Hugs. It's cool. That is cool. Thank you for the super chat. Who's your favorite Voyager character? Mine is the Doctor. The Doctor is pretty good. The Doctor can be really fucking irritating, though. Sometimes when he, like when they play up the Doctor having a massive ego, I feel like it's less fun. Like, damn it, as much as I hate to say it, I think it might be Tuvok. Tuvok being, like, the, like, sarcastic bitch of Voyager has been so fun to watch. His sarcasm is so good. Yeah. But yeah, Tuvok-focused episodes are usually not that good, though, is the problem. He's a good support character, but he can't really carry an episode on his own. Yeah. Doctor's a good one. Doctor's a good choice. I'd say 7 of 9 has some interesting stuff going on, but also 7 of 9 like has sort of taken over the show. Like, I'm watching season 6 right now, and she basically is like the entire show's about her, it seems. Suppose the former Confederacy became an independent state, what do you think would happen to them? They would be very poor. Well, if it was just today, I guess not, because they've got pretty big institution, or they got pretty big corporations in the cities, but they would, they would miss out on a lot. Texas handled COVID much the same way Ontario did. The Attorney General forced El Paso to stay. See, we haven't had that happen. We haven't had, like, forcing things open. What we had was premature reopening after the peak of the pandemic, which just leads to another wave and then having to lock down again. But, like, we haven't had the same culture war over masks like what happened in the United States. And we haven't had, like, complete open. Like, Ontario's been under some form of lockdown since like since like March of 2020. Like, really early on. We've never really been fully open ever. The closest we got was like maybe August of 2020, but for the most part, like, we've been in some form of lockdown since March of 2020. Yeah. Just looking through the chat right now. Whoa, Derek, thank you for the $40 super chat. Lurker from Winnipeg here. Thanks for the channel, comrade. Aw. I'm sorry I got to you 4 minutes late. Jeez. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Make sure I don't miss any of these. I'm getting behind on the chat, so I'm missing things like $40 super chats. Holy moly. Derek, you're freaking from Winnipeg. I've been to Winnipeg. It's Nikki Ashton country. What's it called, Derek? My extended family, my French side of my family lives in Saskatchewan. So, we have gone, but like really close to Brandon, like Saskatchewan, but very close to the Manitoba border. So, to save money, my parents would always fly to Winnipeg, and then we'd rent a car and drive to where my parents were from. So I've been in and out of Winnipeg multiple times. I have an interesting to ask you, since you're from Canada. Do you think that there's a scary high stakes chance at a disturbing scenario if like, the Canadian right-wing extremists and right-wing politicians have a superb plan on trying to copy the same strategy of what they saw in January at the U.S. Capitol, trying the exact same scenario, trying to storm the Canadian Parliament? I feel like the thing is, like, Canadians have been very, like, I don't know. I feel like Canadian nationalism in that way is, it's not, we're not at that point like we are, like the U.S. is. We are not at that, like, fever pitch. And I feel like, something like that would be considered like no like capital insurrection thing would have any form of legitimacy. I don't think. Things would have to get, I guess I would say, it's not like it's impossible, but things would have to get a lot worse, and a lot of things would have to happen. And at that point, I don't know if I can predict their likeliness. Who's your favorite Expanse character? Mine is Amos. I used to like Amos too, till his character, what's it called? The actor who plays Amos did a bunch of shitty shit, and then, spoilers, they done killed him at the end of the last season because they basically fired the actor. But yeah, he's pretty good. I like, gosh, The Expanse. I'm trying to think of some, like, really good characters out there. The thing is that The Expanse has some, like, really good evil characters. Like, the villains in The Expanse, Marcinaros. The current villain, the belter terrorist guy. He's fucking creepy. I really also liked, you know what? I think my favorite Expanse character, for the most part, I can't even remember his name, but he just made such a great impression from the first time he showed up to the last to when his character died that I was like, damn. And that is, oh fuck, he's a belter, like, pirate captain who then, when the belt makes itself into a country, he becomes like admiral, like he becomes the captain of like the XO of the big ship. And he's just like this old man, and he's great. He's like, he's good. I also really like Drummer. Drummer fucking kicks ass. She was pretty cool. But she, I don't know if the plot that she had in season 4 was like less good, but like the first or the most recent season 5, I guess they did. But the first 4 seasons, I thought Drummer was pretty cool. Suppose the U.S. Answered that. If you Patreon step back for a full year at $5 a month, it gets discounted to $4.20. That's true. An interesting thing to ask you, since you're from... I already answered that. And it can happen here. The South literally becomes a famine-ridden third world country. You don't buy that? If everything collapsed, I think it would happen. Especially because a lot of the South's industry is based on the weapons manufacturing industry, which relies a lot on money from Washington. So, and without New York and California, if you think about it, like the biggest, richest cities in that country, this like South country, would be like Atlanta and like Miami and like Dallas and Houston, which, like, you know, they're big cities, but they're nothing like without New York and LA, like Ugh. They're not like that's a lot of economy to give up. Yeah. There's a new COVID vaccine coming out ended 2021 to be 100% effective against the Brazil variant. Well, that'd be good. The Brazil variant is the one that can actually get around vaccination, right? That's like the real nasty one. Yeah, BC's under the Brazil variant wave. Ontario's under the British variant wave. There's no good news on the horizon. It is true. This is probably the source of like a lot of the anxiety and hopelessness I'm having these days. Is just that things are really bad, and if you look at it honestly, there doesn't seem to be much of a pathway out either. Like I don't see how things are going to get better anytime soon. And I'm just so tired of not seeing my friends and family and not like I'm an extrovert. I love spending time with people and I miss seeing people so fucking bad. Whoa, April, thank you for the 20 US dollar super chat. Derek Chauvin guilty on all counts, justice for Chauvin, but not for George Floyd. We have a lot of work to do. Yeah, we do. Thank you for the super chat, and I agree. We're getting into doomer mode, but we should be really just grateful that today is the day that Derek Chauvin got fucking convicted. He's a convicted murderer. Yeah, that's a good feel. Have I ever appeared on Thought Slime's Eyeball Zone? I think I have appeared on the Eyeball Zone more times than anybody else. Because he's promoted my work on 2 occasions, and both times were when I think he was in a situation where he didn't have somebody. I don't know. He didn't have time to vet another channel, so he picked mine, and I never knew about them. So I was very grateful each time. The UK government gave the LGB Alliance charity status. Normal Island does it again. Oh boy. The UK really needs to be stopped. Lots of people from the South don't realize that New York is mostly farmland. Oh yeah. Generally, I had no idea until recently that Houston is the 4th biggest city in the U.S. Just knew Houston, we have a problem. Oh yeah. This is the thing is like after the invention of air conditioning, the South's big cities have really blown up in recent years, and so they actually have a pretty big population now. Is the thing. What do you make of the take that joining the EU ultimately just delayed the UK breaking up by like 50 years? I'd be interested in that argument. I don't know if I believe it, but I would need to read it to know what the claims are, because I don't know that much about British history, to be honest. How are the state of unions in Canada? Is it much different than the U.S.? It's pretty different from the U.S. Unions are a lot more normalized, and they're a lot more common, and union membership is a lot higher here. It's not as high as it is in Europe, but it's higher than it is in the U.S., and like... One of the things that my wife, who immigrated here from America, has stated about Canada is that, like, to us, unions are like, compared to her experience of America, unions are a thing that exist here. And not only do they actually exist here, but they're normal. It's not unusual to be part of a union. You don't see a way out for Canada or the whole world? I for Ontario right now, honestly. Like these days, I'm just like all I can think about is the shit going on in Ontario. It's preoccupied so much of my brain. At this rate, the UK will collapse by Tuesday. Dear God, what's going on in the UK right now? Are you talking about the stuff that's going on in Ireland, or is there new things? Is there new UK news these days? Um, the idea that the UK used to justify keeping the province countries by imperial right to rule, but after that we just kept them because they wanted to stay in the EU. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, look at like Scotland. It seems like what's coming up is that the difference between Scottish people wanting to stay and wanting to leave was whether or not they were in the European Union. Just realized we're running out of time. See all your D&D books. Which one is your favorite adventure module? I haven't run any of the adventures. I haven't run any D&D adventures. Well, I've run like one session of Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and I ran like one session of. I have played the Lost Mines of Fandelver. I did play that one as a sorcerer, so I did do that. But out of them, I think that given like the stuff I've heard about their stories and everything like that, Tomb of Annihilation sounds like it's or what's it called? Waterdeep Dragon Heist, or not Dragon Heist? What's it called? Descent into Avernus. Oh, what's this? We got some horns. Oh shoot! Rating with a thank you, Potatity. Thank you very much for the raid. Hello, all you new folks. Much appreciated. Thank you for coming out. I hope that you guys have a good time. We're only going to be going for another 5 minutes, but yeah. Hi, I'm Tristan. I talk about the internet. No, I talk about politics and history and shit that's going on in the world. Basically, people ask me about stuff, and I try to figure things out for them. Hopefully you had a good stream, Potato Titties. There's a 300-year period in Scottish history called the Rough Wooing, where England tried to conquer them for centuries. Oh boy. Oh Christ. Okay, something's going on with my notifications, because I realized that like half an hour ago, I got a subscription from Le True Rapper. So thank you. Oh my god, my bad. I feel terrible. Twitch Oracle Historian? Oh boy. That's a high praise. Any chance of another Step Back Tonight guest host in the near future? Mexi and Matt really made things more dynamic. That's true. I was trying to get one, but he's too busy. So when he isn't busy, I'll try to get him on. But I'm going to keep looking. I think so. Because I do want to get more guests. That's for sure. Because, yeah, I do think it has a better back and forth energy. Icewind Dale is awesome. Cool. Yeah, I've been told it's like kind of non-linear or whatever. Like it's sort of like a more sandboxy, which might be interesting. Who was it? It was Trey the Explainer. He's just really busy with some stuff in his life. So when he's not busy, he's going to let me know. And we'll see if we can get him on. So yeah, Trey and I are big fans of each other. but we haven't done any work together except for that one quote for that video. But Trey and I really like each other's channels, so I definitely want us to do something really fun together. Who is the mugshot in the background? So a fan sent me this. This is a print of Emma Goldman's This is Emma Goldman's mugshot. She was arrested this is from when she was arrested in 1901 for being associated with Leon Czolgosz and the assassination of William McKinley. So I made a video about Emma Goldman and how she was my favorite historical figure. And a wonderful fan sent that to my P.O. box. And I'm a very big fan of it. I love it so much, and that's why I have it on my wall. It's the only thing I've had sent to my P.O. box that wasn't like a book press that was trying to get me to review their books. So it's like a special treat. I really liked it. Why a mug shot, not a glass shot or a cup shot? Good stuff. All right. I think that we're running out of time. We've only got seconds left, so I'm going to try to see if I can find a good person to raid before I leave you alone, because I've got a whole shit ton of D&D prep I got to finish tonight. I'm very far behind on that shit. So here, you know what? I have been overly doomer, so why don't we raid Lumiru? They know how to make people happy and have a good time. So we're going to raid them. So it's 9 o'clock. Everybody, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And I've got encounters to make tonight. So have a good one, everybody.